So today I want to discuss an important topic about something that our generation is really dealing with, a very significant topic. I would say especially the younger generation. It's nogea to our generation, I would say the most, and it's something that is important to discuss before Am Yisrael comes back to Eretz Yisrael, which is really the process in which we've been discussing in the last few weeks, and also the process in which we're seeing in the world today. So I want to take us through this parsha, Parshas Pinchas, but to focus on one specific aspect of it and see how it's relevant to our lives. So if you look, the end of last week's parsha in Balak, it says that Am Yisrael sat in a very specific location. The location that they sat in was the location that really led them to sin and to the transgression and to the downfall of the Jewish people right before they're about to enter Eretz Yisrael. Where did they sit? It says, Vayeshev Israel bashitim. Vayachel ha'am liznot el bnot Moav. Am Yisrael sat in Shittim, in a place called Shittim, and then they started going after the girls of Moab in znus, in inappropriate marital relationships with non-Jewish girls. Now, this was Bilam's advice. After Bilam couldn't destroy the Jewish people with the curses, he told Balak, Elokeim shel elu sonazima, their God hates immoral relationship and immoral behavior. Send the girls after them. And the prince, the king of Moab, sent his own daughter and other girls just to go ahead and seduce and join in inappropriate relationships with the children of Israel. And that's what led to the whole story of Zimri. That's what led to 24,000 Jews dying in a plague because of the inappropriate action that took over there, and the bowing down and the avodah zarah of Baal Peor, which has a high level of disgrace, and that is how you serve the avodah zarah of Baal Peor. And it was a tragedy for the Jewish people, and this was their last stop before they're about to go into the land of Eretz Yisrael. So this is, in a certain way, the Torah is telling us this is going to be the challenge of the generation right before they enter Eretz Yisrael. So I want to focus on that and try to understand this challenge, because we know with the technology, with internet, with smartphones, with everything which is such great gifts that were given to our generation, and we can learn Torah, and we can communicate, and we can connect all over the world, but with it also comes a very big danger. It's true like that with every revolution in the world. Anything that is advancing one thing comes with it a certain risk and comes with it a certain challenge if we don't know how to use the gift and the tools that we were given appropriately. If you look at the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Yud, it says the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Vayeshev Yisrael b'Shittim. Am Yisrael sat in a place called Shittim. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Shittim Shema. It was a place that was called Shittim. Rabbi Yeshua says, Shenitasku bedivrei shtut. Rabbi Yeshua says that the word Shittim doesn't just mean the name of the place, but it comes from the word shtut. You are a shoteh shebaolam. You made such a, they're dealing with stupidity, with stupid things. Now, I want to go even further into it, because if you look at the Medrash in this week's parsha, says the Medrash something fascinating that will try to help us understand this entire parsha. Says the Medrash that for all 40 years, and in fact, from the time of Avram Avinu, Am Yisrael did not sin in immoral relationships. Not one. The only story we have is Shlomit Bat Divri, and that was Ona, she didn't know the whole thing. But וכל אותן 40 שנה לא סרחו במדבר, עד שבאו לשיטים, ולכך כתיב וישב ישראל בשיטים, ויחל העם לזנות. שיטים שעשו שטות. They sat in a place called Shittim, and they made the mistake, the stupidity of the immoral relationship. נואף אישה חסר לב. He's missing his heart. ויחל העם לזנות. Says the Medrash like this. יש מעיינות שמגדלים גיבורים, ויש חלשים. ויש נעים ויש מכוערים ויש צנועים ויש שטופים בזימה. ומעיין שיטים של זנות היה, והוא משקה לסדום. אתה מוצא שאמרו, איה האנשים אשר באו אליך, הוציאם אלינו, ולפי שנתקלקל אותו מעיין, עתיד הקדוש ברוך הוא לייבשו, שנאמר, ומעיין מבית השם יצא וישקע אל נחל השיטים. מימות אברהם לא נפרץ אחד בזנות, כיוון שבאו לשיטים ושתו מימיו נפרצו בזנות. Says the Medrash, that there's different locations in this world that bring out certain personalities. I don't know what that means, if it's a metaphoric type of Medrash or if it's technical, but we do find that different people from different countries have different cultures and different things that are more accepted and different things that are more in culture. The people from Mexico gravitate to certain things. The people from Arabia gravitate to other things. The people in France like other things. And says the Medrash, there are certain rivers, and it's called it a Mayan. There are certain streams and rivers. There's some that, you have people that are born in that area are very strong, physically strong, and some are weak. Some are beautiful, and some are not as beautiful. You find people from certain countries, that's where they get the models from. And there are other people that there's never been one model from that country. It's just not a place that produces beautiful people. There are places that's where the athletes come from, that you have people that are more strong, that are stronger. You see that there's an effect of different locations, of people growing and being raised in certain populations that they get affected. And there's certain rivers that people are more modest in that type of climate, in that type of society. But there's one place that produces shtufei zima, people that are immoral. And that it was the river that watered Sdom. And the city of Sdom was a city that was immoral. What is the Medrash trying to teach us about the place called Shittim? Why is it called Shittim? How is this relevant to our lives? And we're going to try to take a look at something that's just going to blow our mind in the understanding of one of the challenges of our generation. But I want to bring out one more Medrash, because the Medrash Tanchuma in Parshas Truma brings down a similar concept with an additional aspect, which is also a bigger question. What does the Medrash says? Says the Medrash, what were the trees, the wood that was used to build the Mishkan? Again, this is in Parshas Truma, Os Tes. Says the Medrash, it's called Atzei Shittim. Why is it called Atzei Shittim, the wood of Shittim? Kedei lerapot ma she'atidin la'asot b'shittim. We built the Mishkan 40 years before, made out of Shita tree, in order to heal the mess up of what the Jewish people are going to do in the future in a place called Shittim. שנאמר וישב ישראל בשיטים ולא תאמר בארון שעשה משה אלא אפילו כל ארון שישראל עושים צריכים ליתן ארז של שיטה בו. דבר אחר, says the Medrash, חטאו בשיטים ולקו בשיטים ומתרפים בשיטים. They sinned in Shittim, as it says, that Vayeshev Yisrael Bashitim. They got punished in Shittim, as it says that there was a Magefa, 24,000 people got killed. And the refuah comes out of Shittim, which is that Pinchas was able to stop them. Pinchas, which is the Kohen who works in the Beis HaMikdash, which is made out of Shittim, and it concludes the marriage, L'asad Lavo, in the future, Hashem says, I'm going to heal the river of Shittim that gives this desire for immoral relationship. והיה ביום ההוא יטפו ערים עסיס והגבעות תלכנה חלב וכל אפיקי יהודה ילכו מים ומעיין מבית השם יצא. There's going to be a river coming out of the house of Hashem. והשקע את נחל השיטים. At the end of days, there's going to be a river coming out of the Beis HaMikdash, whatever that means, and it's going to water the river of Shittim. Some say it's going to be a river that comes out of the Beis HaMikdash, and it's going to make Yam HaMelach into sweet. Again, Yam HaMelach is where Sdom lived, and now it turned into a salty river, so there's no life there, but I don't know what that means. I want to try to get a little bit of a glimpse of what does that mean. So again, so we're asking two basic questions. What does it mean that they sinned in a place called Shittim? In the place of Shittim specifically is because they sinned, and that was the river that watered Sdom. And then you're telling me that Atzei Shittim, how could it be that the Mishkan that was built 40 years before is going to be a kapara, is going to heal the Jewish people from the shtut that they did in Shittim? What's going on over here? Now, in order to understand this, we have to understand when they sinned in Shittim, the Medrash in Yalkut Tehillim tells us that because of this sin, the Jewish people were punished, that the nations of the world are going to rule over us. So if we want to have our own sovereignty, if we want to be ruling over ourselves, we have to be able to be mitgaber, we have to overcome the desire of shittim in the place of shittim. So I want to try to understand, what does that mean? Okay, what does this whole process mean? And part of it is understanding what is the midah of Sdom and what was unique about Sdom. So let's first try to understand a deep concept of how this world runs and what happens when you don't run on this fuel that runs the world. Okay, the Medrash says, and this is already a pasuk in Tehillim, Olam chesed yibaneh. The world is built on the concept of chesed, of kindness, of charity, of giving. That's what the world is built on. Now, it's not just a nice metaphor and a bumper sticker, Olam chesed yibaneh. We see that the world that we live in today was survived really and exists because of Noach. Noach, for the entire year of him to survive the Mabul, the flood, needed to do chesed nonstop, 24/7, feeding all of the animals, 24/7 of year of chesed, of giving, in order to survive himself and in order to get into that frame of mind that I'm here to give to the world and not to take from the world. So the world, as we know, literally survives because of chesed. Not only that, the Jewish world, the forefather who started the entire process of monotheism in the world and revealing to the world that there is Hashem. And the forefather of Judaism is who? Avram Avinu. What is the midah of Avram Avinu? Avram Avinu is midat hachesed. He's all about kindness, about giving, about charity, about having a tent with 4 open sides. That's what Avram Avinu represents. Not only that, we find that the mother of the kingdom of Am Yisrael, the Malchut Beit David, where does that come from? What is the root? Who is the Ima Shel Malchut? Who is the mother of the kingdom? That is Ruth HaMoaviyah. And the entire story of Ruth that we read on Shavuot is because of what we say. It's to teach us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Sachar Tov legomlei chasadim. It's all about chesed. It's all about the kindness of Ruth, of Naomi. It's all about kindness. Everything really comes from the world of kindness. Not only that, the actual Beis HaMikdash that we have was not built by David HaMelech. Why could it not be built by David HaMelech? Because he had blood on his hands. He fought the wars of Hashem. It was a mitzvah. He needed to do it. But because he had blood on his hand, he can't build the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash is the house of peace, and therefore it's built by the man of peace, the man of kindness. Who is the man of peace? His name is Shlomo, Shalom, peace. And he's the one who builds the Beit HaShalom, the Beis HaMikdash, which is the house of peace that is supposed to unite the entire Jewish people and unite the world. And therefore it's built by Shlomo HaMelech. So we see that the whole world and the anhaga of the world is a anhaga of giving. It is the beginning of understanding what life is all about. And that's why the truth is it's also in our life. When you start a family, what's it built on? What is the whole concept of starting your own nucleus cell in your family? It's all about chesed. It's chesed starts in the home. It's chesed that the husband gives to his wife and the wife gives to her husband, and that the parents give unconditionally to their children. And it's an embedded nature within a mother specifically, but also within the fathers, to give and to love. And you're giving without really asking for anything in return. We teach them to be mechabed and kibud avayim, but really we're giving because we love them, we nourish them, we feed them, we educate them. That is olam chesed yibaneh. That is how the world actually lives. Where does a Russia find his place in the world of kindness? Right? The whole concept of a world of kindness is not being egocentric, is being mevatel yourself, putting yourself aside for other people, for your children, for your community, for society. And that's how the world functions, and that's how the world moves. Where does somebody who's totally self-centered find that expression of chesed in himself? Because it's an embedded midah that we need to find an expression to be a giver. You can't have somebody who doesn't give of himself to other people. So the Gemara tells us that there's another chesed that is called in the Torah. And that's the chesed in the parasha of arayot, of inappropriate relationship. It says, ki chesed hu. it's also called chesed, but it's an inappropriate giving of oneself. It's when a Rasha is really only thinking about himself, and he is taking place, he's acting in an action as if I'm giving of myself to somebody else, and I'm having a relationship with somebody else, but it's an immoral relationship. It's an inappropriate relationship. This is not somebody that you should be with. And even if it's somebody that you will be allowed to be with, if you follow the rules and you take upon responsibility to take care of them and to get married, so then it might be correct. But if you're involved in an inappropriate relationship, so who do you really care about? Are you really trying to give of yourself to somebody else? No, it's the exact opposite. All you're trying to do is to partake in an action of giving of yourself physically to somebody else, but really you're taking for yourself. You're taking advantage of somebody else. And in fact, the other person is going to feel taken advantage of because you didn't actually give them anything. You only gave yourself. And that's where warped chesed comes. It's an action of giving of yourself to somebody else, but it's done in an inappropriate way. And the Gemara in Sota Daf Gimel Amud Aleph says, Reish Lakish amar, en adam over avera, ela im ken nichnas bo ruach shtut, shenemar ish o isha ki tiste ishto, tishte ktiv. The word sota is written with a samech, ki tiste ishto, and it says, don't call it sota, ela shota. It's a shtut. It's listot minaderch. It's to go off the beaten path. You see, the word shote is one of those words in Hebrew that could go in either direction depending how you use the word, right? You have the word ikar. Ikar means the main point, but it also called la'akor, to uproot something. So the same thing is with the word shtut. You have shita. What does a shita mean? Shita is, I have a clear path. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to accomplish. But then you have shtut. Shtut means hadas shote. The hadas is not a straight hadas. He has other things coming out in other way. He's ruach shtut nichnesabo. He's not thinking straight. He's thinking the opposite way. Somebody who has a shita is somebody who's very clear. He knows what he's doing. He knows where he's going. There's a path. There's a beginning. There's an end. And then there's somebody who has a ruach shtut. He's off the beaten path. He's somebody who's going against the grain. And that's really what the midah of Sdom was all about. What does it say in the Mishnah? Arba'a midot ba'adam. So you have sheli shelach, shelach shelach, that's a chassid. Sheli sheli, shelach sheli, that's a Rasha. And then you have sheli shelach, shelach sheli. He's just a communist. He says what's yours is mine and what mine is yours. Says the Gemara, Am Haaretz. That's an Am Haaretz, to say that what yours is mine or mine is yours. But then there's something very interesting. There's sheli sheli, v'shelach shelach. Zu midah beinonit. What's mine is mine and what yours is yours. Some say it's a midah beinonis. V'yesh omrim zu midat tzedom. Some say that is midat tzedom. A person who says what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. I only care about myself. I don't care anything about you. I'm not trying to see your well-being. I'm not trying to care about other people in the society. I only care about myself. That is the midah of Sdom, that a person is only self-centered, and even his action of chesed is only for himself. He's only thinking about himself. He's never really giving to anybody else. And when he does give, it's inappropriate. That ends up being inappropriate, immoral relationship. And that is what midah Sdom is, and that comes from the ma'ayan that is called shitim, which represents that there is no clear shita, but rather somebody who veers off of the shita. And says the Arizal that is what Sdom was all about. Sdom, from Sdom, who came out of Sdom? Which nation came out of Sdom? It was the nation of Moav. It was the daughter of Lot. Lot in Aramaic comes from the word layit. He's cursed. He's off the path. And his daughter had an immoral relationship with him in the cave. And what was their son's name? Moav, which is the most immoral relationship name that you could have. Moav means from my father, right? She called out to the whole world that we had an immoral relationship. And Moab Begematria is 49, which represents the 49 Sharei Tumah. That's what Moab represents. That's what Moab was coming right now to destroy the Jewish people. We can't curse them. Matovu Alecha Yaakov. They're beautiful. Bilam HaRasha can't curse them. So therefore, what are we going to do? We're going to send the girls of Moab after the Jewish people. The girls of Moab who are Yonik from Mayan Shittim, again, they're right by the Jordan River on the other side. They're right by that location. And that city of Moab was somehow Yonik from the place called Shittim, which used to be Sdom. I don't know where exactly it is. Again, these are concepts more than a historical location of places. And the girls of Moab, who are continuing with this immoral relationship, are coming to destroy the Jewish people by trying to convince them to partake in immoral relationship. And that's how Bilam suggests to Balak, you're going to be able to destroy the Jewish people. And in fact, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Hey, tells us that from the blessings of Bilam, you could find out what he wanted the curses to be. And the Gemara goes through all of the blessings and trying to understand what the curses would have been, and says the Gemara that all of them, Amar Rabbi Abba Bar Kana, Kulam Chazru Liklala. All of the blessings actually turned into curses. Chutz mibatei knesiyot ubatei midrashot shenemar, vayafoch Hashem Elokecha lecha et haklala livracha ki ahevcha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu turned all of the curses into blessings because Hashem loves us. But Bilam told Balak, Hashem loves them, and that's why he gave them all of my curses. He turned them into blessings. But you know what their God hates the most? Elokeim shel elu soneh zima. The God of the Jews hates immorality. He hates inappropriate moral relationships. He hates people spending their time looking at inappropriate things. And therefore, all of the blessings that they were supposed to have, which were turned into blessings because of the love for them, if you get them to be involved in immoral relationship, he will hate them. And if he hates them because he hates the immorality, so then all of those blessings will turn back into curses. And says the Gemara, that's what eventually happened, that they all turned into curses at the end, besides Matovu Alecha Yaakov Mishkenosecha Yisrael. Besides the blessing of the tents of Am Yisrael, which represents the tznius, the modesty of the Jewish people, and also the base medrash of the Jewish people. And that's really where the Shita comes into place. The understanding of how to overcome immorality, the understanding of how to overcome inappropriate behavior and looking at inappropriate things, which there is such a strong draw in our generation that cuts all ages, that cuts all spectrum of Jewish people, that cuts all religious affiliations. There's such a strong draw for people to look at inappropriate things. And it's so accessible to all of us. And that is the ruach shtus that our generation has to deal with. And that is what Bnei Yisrael sinned before they merited to come into the land of Eretz Yisrael. They sinned in the shittim, in the shtus, with the Bnos Moab, which represents the Memtes Sharei Tumah that were so accessible. And 24,000 people died in a plague, in a pandemic that broke out because of all of the inappropriate relationships. That's exactly what happened when the Jewish people came in. But says the Medrash, that there is one thing that was a remedy that was put into place before they even came to the place called Shittim, which represents the shtut, the veering off the beaten path. And what's the one thing that is going to be a merit for ripui? That's what we said. It's nitrapu b'shittim, atzei shittim omdim. It's the Mishkan. How is the Mishkan a kapara and a refuah to the shtut, the stupidity that they did in Shittim? So says the Medrash, what was the Mishkan all about? How was it built? In the beginning of Parshas Truma, we've mentioned this in the past. Why does it say V'yikchu truma? It should be V'yitnu li truma. They should give for me a truma. But no, it says V'yitnu li. V'yikchu truma, that they should take for me, which means that they're taking something by giving. Because that's really the secret of what truma is all about. You see, the Mishkan was not built by, an appeal that everyone had to give this a fixed type of donation. Yes, everyone needed to give a machatzis a shekel, but then it says, Me'et kolish asher yidvenu libo tikhu et trumati. The Mishkan was only built if the people wanted to donate, meaning if people would not have donated, it would not have been built. It comes via the donation of the people. Everyone needs to want to do it and to partake in an action of giving from themselves to other people. And when a person gives from himself to the greater good, to build a mishkan, something that's going to unite the community, something that is going to allow the community to connect to the values, to the Torah, to the lessons of what the Torah represents. So that is something that is going to be kayam la'adu le'ol me'olamim, as the Gemara in Sukkah Daf Mem Hey says. What does it mean? Atzei shitim omdim, shema tomar, avad sivram, ubatel sikuyam. You might think that once the Mishkan got folded up and was put away, it no longer has its power. That's what it says. Atzei shitim omdim, shomdim le'olam u'l'olmei olamim. Atzei shitim omdim means that there is something about the Mishkan that stands forever. Atzei shitim, there's a shita. It comes from the donation of people's hearts. People who are involved in giving are people who actually receive for themselves. If one wants to overcome the desire, the temptation that this generation is offering, the temptation of arayos, of immoral relationship, he needs to be involved in giving of himself to other people unconditionally. Somebody who's involved in chesed, somebody who's involved in giving, like people were involved in giving to the Mishkan, giving of himself financially, but more importantly, giving of himself, kol ish asher yidvenu libo, that he gives of his heart to other people, to the Jewish people, to a greater cause. Those people who have a passion, who have a mission, they understand what they're getting up in the morning for. They understand what it is they're fighting for, and how they're giving, how they are partaking, how they're part of the solution and not a part of the problem. They're excited. And then they're not wasting their time on inappropriate relationships. They're not wasting their time at looking at inappropriate things on the internet or on whatever it is they might be looking at. That is what the Mishkan teaches us, and says the Gemara that it's even more than that, because the Mishkan housed in it the values, housed in it the Torah, housed in it the Aseres HaDibros and the Sefer Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote. And therefore says the Gemara that the Mishkan, we also have a Mishkan Me'at, a Mikdash Me'at. We have our Batei Knesiot and Batei Midrashot, somebody who dedicates his time in learning Torah, in davening, in coming to Shiurim, in partaking, in helping other people to come to Shiurim. Somebody who's devoted his time into Chesed and devotes his time into learning the Torah. Those are Atzei Shitim Omdim. That will give a person the Shita, the clear path, the clear direction, the trajectory of his life, what he's trying to do, what he's trying to accomplish, and then he will not be swayed after inappropriate relationship. He will not be swayed after inappropriate pictures, after inappropriate thoughts, because he's going to have a shita, and that will save him from the shtut, from the veering off the shita and being a soteh, a das shoteh. He's going to be a shoteh. Shoteh is a fool. But rather, he's going to have a clear path of how to actually reach his goal. And I'll read to you the Rambam. The Rambam at the end of Isurei Bia says something fascinating. And this is nogea to all of us, and that's why it's nogea even to our generation. Says the Rambam like this: En lecha davar bechol haTorah kula shehu kashe lerov ha'am lifrosh ela min ha'arayot. Says the Rambam, you don't have anything in the entire Torah which is hard for people to refrain from, for the majority of the people, besides arayot, inappropriate relationships, ve'abiyot asurot, and inappropriate, actions and getting together. Amru Chachamim, that's why when Am Yisrael was given the commandment of arayos, they started crying. And he continues, and therefore it's important for a person to be kofes yitzro and to have more kedusha and to be saved from these things. And he says, how do you do it? Gdola mikol zot amru, yafne atzmo machshavato lidivrei Torah, ve'yarchiv da'ato bechokma, she'en machshevet arayot mitgaberet, ela belev panui min hachokma. Says the Rambam in Parak Chav Beis in Hilchos Isurei Bia, Halacha Chaf Aleph, that a person should put his mind and his thoughts to be thinking words of Torah, of values, of meaning, of purpose, because a person who's constantly involved in seeking out wisdom will be saved from using his mind for inappropriate things. Because when does the feeling and the thoughts of arayot, of inappropriate thoughts and feelings, when does that come into our mind? When a person, belev panui min ha-chokhmah, ובחוכמה הוא אומר, הילד אביו וילד חן, דדי ירבוך. And he quotes the pasuk how this is really our love and our relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So we find that Shittim is a river that represents, it was the river that gave water to Sodom. It was the river that produced Moab. It was the river that now Am Yisrael came and they were in that location. And maybe sometimes people travel to a certain location, and we find this. People go on vacation to certain locations, and in that location, they feel more free to do more things. The location of people actually affects the way they feel. So Am Yisrael reached this location, close to Eretz Yisrael, next to Moab, and Moab that tried to curse them out weren't successful, so they said, let's send the girls after them. And that's where they got the Jewish people. The Jewish people fell for the girls, and then they fell for Avodah Zarah, and the Gemara says the only reason why we serve Avodah Zarah is so that we can have girls. And the only reason why we serve Avodah Zarah is so we can have inappropriate relationship. It's a real issue in our generation as well. People leave Judaism for Avodah Zarah is because we want an inappropriate relationship. We don't want this burden on top of us. But does it give us happiness? No. Are we really happy? Not at all. Because if somebody's not really involved in real chesed, he's not really involved in giving to other people, so he has a moment of pleasure, but pleasure doesn't necessarily give me the real joy that I'm looking for. It doesn't make me happy in life. You know what makes me happy in life? When I work hard at something. Happiness and real enjoying the world actually comes with removal of pleasure. It actually comes through hard work and pain. What are the things that I cherish the most in my life? What are the things that I love the most, that it gives me the most amount of pleasure and joy and happiness in this world? It's usually my kids. Yeah, they give me the most amount of pain in the world also, right? Because I work hard. I worked hard to bring them and I work hard to raise them, but that's why I'm happy with them. It's hard. And when I get a degree and I worked for 4 years to get I feel accomplished. And when I work hard to prepare a shiur and it comes out good, I'm excited. And when I work hard to do a chesed project and it comes out, so that fills me up with joy. But to have a moment of pleasure, so people think that will give them happiness, but then they feel empty. Then they feel depleted. They feel they're missing. Why? Because it wasn't real chesed. It was chesed of tumah. It was chesed of just giving myself. That's what we explained. Chesed is the basis of the entire world. It's giving of yourself for other people, for the better of the world. But chesed of tumah is the action of giving to other people, but it's fake. You're not really giving to anybody else. You're only giving to yourself. And you're depleting other people and yourself, and you feel empty at the end. That is the difference between having a shita, having a system, or having shtut, or not having a system. And that's what happened when they entered the place of Ma'ayana Shittim, Vayeshev Yisrael Bashittim, which is the place of Sdom, the place of Tumah. And the way to realign that shita, says the Medrash, is the Atzei Shittim Omdim. It's the chesed that it took to build the Mishkan, and the Torah that the Mishkan represents, like the Rambam says, is focusing our mind on acquiring real wisdom, real values that are God-given, and taking them into action of giving, of helping, making the world a better place. That's what gives us the clear shita. And I believe this is something that our generation needs to work on. We're faced, one of the biggest challenges in our generation, for all ages, is the accessibility of inappropriate, immoral, everything, right? Whether it's pictures, videos, movies, or ability of actions, and all the substance abuse around it. And it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge for teenagers. It's a real challenge for families. It's a challenge for parents to see their kids. And the people who are involved in it, it's a yetzer hara, like it sucks you into it. It's really, really hard, and it's hard to get away from it. But it needs to be slow, practical steps. And I think the slow, practical steps that the Torah is teaching us in this week's parsha is being involved in real chesed, really giving of yourself to other people give you the ability to feel what real pleasure is all about, what everlasting joy and happiness feels like, and being involved in acquiring wisdom and understanding values that keep the world running, learning the Torah, learning the meaning of mitzvos and how they can better shape our life. I think those are the two practical steps to help ourselves, to help our children, to help our neighbors, our friends, of how to overcome this great temptation of our generation. I hope these words were clear, and I hope they were said in an appropriate manner.